1975, I got a job at the Holiday Inn downtown, the one on Howe Street. I'd worked previously at the Abbotsford Hotel. And the job was as a porter, although everybody called me a bellhop or a bellman or anyway. It was the perfect job for me. So Holiday Inn is one of the biggest chains of hotels anywhere in the world. And they sponsored a bunch of acts, touring acts at that time. Every Holiday Inn has the same menu. Every lounge is called the Rendezvous. The piano player is an employee of the Holiday Inn, and he can ask, to be transferred to Hawaii. The average Holiday Inn piano player is as good as Dinah Krall. So she's overrated, but I think a lot of them are underrated. Anyway, so I got the job. There was 3 types of customers. There was the American family in their land yacht. There were bus tours, and there was a business travel. Anyway, so there was 200 rooms. Hotel still there. It became a Ramada for a while. And my main thing was up pulls the land yacht. And I climb out in my little monkey suit. Hi, my name is Dave. May I help you? And I check them in. I take them to the parking. I get the giant cart and load up their 28 pieces of luggage. I take them up to their room, talking nonstop, attractions, the liquor laws. Of course, I always had liquor stashed so I could sell it to them on a Sunday. I told them about art and cultural events, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I would get a minimum of $5 and up to $20 from each family in 1975. And that was serious. I guarantee I made more money than the hotel manager. He just didn't want to do what I did. And got to meet a lot of great people. Now, these people would stay at Holiday Inns every place. I used to hear the Americans go, "Oh, we love Banff, but there's no Holiday Inn." What? These people would not stay in Banff because they had to stay in a Holiday Inn that had the rendezvous, the menu, the whole thing. We also used to have these staff meetings where we'd see the movie, to make us work together. Look how the chambermaid works with the bellhop and the front desk to make it such a great place. You get that holiday feeling at Holiday Inn. So anyway, it was great. So the bus tours were usually Iwata Travel, which is still around. So hundreds of Japanese tourists that would have the heaviest bags, full of liquor and who knows what was in there. So we'd get 50 cents a bag, but there'd be like 100 bags. So I can't remember a day when I walked with less than $25 to $50, and some days were 100. So it was awesome. There was a convention floor where they'd have a bunch of different conventions. I remember at lunchtime, I'd get on the elevator and the secretaries have all just put their perfume on, so I just about passed out from the fumes. So the guy that ran the front desk's name was Abdul, and he was super cool. He was one of the Indians that had been kicked out of Uganda by Idi Amin. So, and this guy was, Canada's a country of immigrants, and guys like him are what makes our country great. He would always say, "No problem, not to worry, everything okay," and he was great. He was from Gurjat, and he told me once that it was a mathematician in Gurjat invented zero, the number 0, which was a huge breakthrough in mathematics. He said, that also happens to be the same amount of money that I had when I got kicked out of Uganda. So he was super cool. One day, this nasty lady from South Africa came in, and she's, "I can't believe, oh my God, why is a darky working behind the desk when a white boy checks me into carries my bloody bags," right? It's like, wow. And everybody's looking at her. "Abdul, no problem, not to worry. David, you be the desk clerk." So I went around, I checked her in, he carried her bags up, he came back and gave me $10, and he said, "I don't want her money." The thing about it was, it didn't faze him one bit. And I asked him why. He said, because in Africa, in Uganda, the black and white people treat Indians and Chinese people like shit. So it didn't faze him one little bit. Anyway, there were a lot of conventions. This one convention came there every year called ASHRAE, which was the Association of Refrigeration and Air Conditioning or whatever. So I met this woman. She was staying in the hotel. I guess she was about 30 or 35. She was single, so she said. And very nice lady. Her name was Janet. So she asked me to come up to her room after my shift. And I did. And she asked me to touch her hair. And then, wow, she proceeded to blow my young mind completely. And I had to, have a shower, sneak around in my clothes and come into the front. Abdul didn't say anything, but I'm pretty sure he knew. So about 4 days later, Abdul goes, "Oh, David, the young lady left an envelope for you." I said, "Oh, well, that's great." He goes, "I would like to see you open it." So I opened up, there's $100 US. And he goes, "Nice work if you can get it." And he could have got me fired, but he was a super cool guy. Anyway, a whole bunch of bands would stay there. It wasn't just good money. One time this German guy came down and he said, "I need a facility for chemical cleaning." I said, "Oh, no, it's called dry cleaning." He goes, "It is done with chemicals." Right? Really serious guy. He said, "Oh, my name is Florian and I have a band called Kraftwerk. And we have a song on the radio, Audubon." I said, "Okay, cool. Well, so tell me about your band." He goes, because I was a flute player. He goes, "I play flute and synthesizer. And Wolfgang plays drums and percussion and synthesizer. And Gerhard plays drums and synthesizer. And Ralph plays synthesizer." So there was a lot of synthesizer. So he asked me if there was a place where, he'd recommend a restaurant. So I sent him to Hans One Ton House, and anybody who's from Vancouver knows Hans One Ton House is awesome. And I asked him if he knew how to use chopsticks, and he said, "I can play the flute and synthesizer," which is the most German answer to any question of all time. So the next day he comes to me and he goes, "Oh, David, I am so happy we had a fantastic gastronomic and cultural experience at Hans One Ton House." I said, "Well, do tell me about it." He goes, "Well, we sat at the big table, the big table in the back, and the other client spoke Chinese and we spoke German and we succeeded with the chopsticks." I just imagine if you were there in Hans One Ton House looking over and these guys are like, Germans talking about synthesizers, sitting up straight, and then the Chinese businessmen eating their food. And they gave me tickets to the show. It wasn't really my kind of music, but it was like really talented robots playing synthesizer. To be fair, that genre, they were really the beginning of that genre, and their electronic music is quite lyrical and musical. And Audubon's the only 20-minute instrumental song that ever made radio play in all time. The other thing about it that was interesting is that they didn't give interviews hardly ever. So I got to meet Florian. I've met people that were Kraftwerk fans, and they said they'd sent like 200 letters and emails, and Kraftwerk never answers, right? So they played at the Gardens Auditorium, and then of course they got huge after that. A few weeks after that, an Englishman came down and asked for a restaurant, if he could go to a local restaurant, and I recommended Hans One Ton House. And his name was John Helliwell, and he was with a band called Supertramp. And they had a great time at the restaurant. They gave me tickets, and they played at the Queenie. 3 years later, they played at Empire Stadium. And then after that, they came to GM Place. It's kind of funny, isn't it, that an English band played at Queen Elizabeth Theatre and Empire Stadium. They were super cool. Another band, I met so many bands that summer, but another band that I met, I had to go up, was Larry Coryell. I met him, and he was super cool at the time. That was the beginning of jazz rock fusion. So at that point in time, Cobham and McLaughlin were right up there, but Alphonse Mouzon and Larry Coryell were very near the top of the genre as well. So I had to go up. The desk clerk told me, "You have to go up and tell this guy not to smoke weed in his room." So I knock on the door, and there's Alphonse Mouzon. He was 10 years older. Built powerfully. And I said, "Oh, well, the manager, the management wants you to stop smoking weed. And Jeroen goes, hey man, I'll open the window. And he signed me a record. I'm trying to think of the name of his first solo project. And it says, to Dave, I opened the window. And he was super cool. And anyway, I met so many different musicians. The Holiday Inn was a pretty neat place to work. After that, I went to the Pacific Palisades, and I met Vincent Price. And he came here to buy art because he's a great art collector. He said, good evening, David, whenever I brought his, in his patented horror voice. And he was super cool. Unfortunately, I guess in 76, I was fired from the Pacific Palisades for getting caught in bed with a famous opera singer's daughter. She was legal age, so I wasn't in trouble for that. And I went on to a life of music and women and drugs and fun. But being a bellhop was the best job anybody could ever have.